The following podcast is a part of RadioMisfits.com. And now it's time for the Mr. Nailsin Show. Well, by now, I'm sure you've heard Donald Trump has been convicted on all 34 counts. Oh, boy, who could have seen it coming? If you paid attention, this was the most likely outcome. It didn't matter how innocent he was going to be convicted. And that's like right now, they're talking, well, what would be the sentencing and whatnot? And there's different variations of what could occur. But the idea of people, they would never put him in jail. Stop it. We've long since left the line, crossing the line of sanity. That's years ago. So I think Dershowitz had probably the most likely scenario of a suspended sentence, which still hangs over his head because there's other cases that could convict him and that could erase it to where he would have to go to jail and all this sort of stuff. It could be a house arrest situation where he's stuck in Mar-a-Lago and can't campaign and what have you, which is what it's all about, because he's a threat to democracy, you understand. The most threatening thing to democracy is allowing people to vote and decide the outcome. What are you, crazy? You can't have that to happen. But there was already precedence in this because, what's the underlying crime, which they never really established, even though the prosecutor lied in his closing arguments that it was an established fact. It was not. That there was, campaign finance shenanigans here. There was already a precedent with John Edwards, and in his case, it's actually stronger. Because he did use campaign funds to pay off his whore, whom he later married. So, see, it was a happy ending. But he was acquitted in that case. So, which is even more to the point of why the feds didn't pursue it at the time. Now you have Alvin Bragg, who, strangely enough, this is his main campaign promise, and he delivered. He sure did. How about that, huh? He hasn't delivered on anything else. New York City is a crime-ridden cesspool. He arrests people for committing self-defense. In backlash, he released this poor bastard from Rikers. But now there's another guy in trouble. These guys came to kill him, and he fought back with a gun. And then, arrest him. And that's Alvin Bragg. Besides, and the murder rate increases. Most of the victims are black. That's always been the case in these situations. Black Lives Matter killed a lot of black people. So that kind of thing. And, of course, a Soros-backed DA. Same thing. That's the result of it. He doesn't care. But he did deliver on getting Trump. So there you have it. But the problem was the ethereal underlying crime, which is never established, it was the campaign violation idea, which is a federal jurisdiction. Alvin Bragg does not have that jurisdiction. So they went with the premise that there had been a case and to say, the legal expenses, he cooked the books on that. And that's the narrative that you follow, which is a misdemeanor. But he wanted him to be a convicted felon, so you got to say this was the federal, and it's not there. Of course, the judge allows it, who should be impeached, and both he and Bragg should be impeached, disbarred. Then they should do jail time. I mean, they're officers of the court, and they abuse the law for political reasons. But the only time that's ever happened that I can remember was the Nailsin case. I don't think that'll happen again. I doubt that they'll even get disbarred, though they should. But, that's that. But, and of course, the chorus of he's a convicted felon is basically the goal, which they achieved that. But, of course, Donald Trump's donation site crashed because there's so many people donating to it. So, Which this again proves what a danger to a democracy he is, because so many people might vote for him. You see, that's jackass logic. That's how that works. So I haven't talked about this quite a bit lately on this show because it's because it's insane. And it really doesn't matter. But in light of this, I thought I would. I'm not in the mood to use Lefty and Red on this because, sure, I laugh, and I laugh at a lot of horrible things. This is pretty bad. But it's really covering up the seething rage and the serious nature of all of this. And you can't just have the governor again come out and say, don't worry, this is only for Trump. It doesn't apply to anywhere else. That's not equal justice under the law. If it applies to Trump, it applies to everybody. But, of course, it doesn't. You can go through the examples just recently of blatant criminal actions. Well, hey, you need look no further than our own current president. That's right. And his own Justice Department said, well, yeah, he's guilty, but come on, he's a senile old man, and it would just be cruel to pursue this. That's how he gets off. Literally admitting he's unfit for the office. Yeah, that's the times we live in, you know? Yeah. But, but this is another thing that does seem to have united the opposition to it quite strongly, because Nikki Haley was the last bow for the uniparty guys of the right, if you can even call them that. And at this point, that's all over with, because their instincts to maintain the political class has completely collapsed and failed. I mean, it'll never come to this. It comes to this. They'll never do that. They do it. No, they would never go that far. They did. You can't just, come on now. That's how things go around here. Let's just move forward. You can't move forward when the next step is off a cliff. And that's where you are. So we'll see what happens in July for whatever sentencing Trump will face. But stop saying it can't happen. The different scenarios, can't stop saying they can't happen. They can happen. It just did in this one, and other horrific, nightmarish things can also happen. It's scary, but that's the way it is. That's where we are, and you just can't keep hiding up your own ass forever. So anyway, more Nailsin Show after this.
You're listening to the Mr. Nailsin Show here on RadioMisfits.com. This is a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Ohio sex worker had more than 200 clients while knowing she was HIV positive. Hello. I'm Mr. Nailsin. Yes, an Ohio hooker allegedly had contact with more than 200 clients despite knowing she was HIV positive, and state officials are warning anybody who engaged in risky business with her to come forward and get tested. Linda Lasissis, 30, had contact with at least 211 clients, well, a little more than 200, from multiple states in the 2 years since January 1st, 2022. Which is around the time when she took an HIV test and learned she was positive for the potentially deadly virus. Lasissis solicited most of those clients on Market Street in Marietta, a small city in southeast Ohio on the border of West Virginia. But the possibly infected people are believed to be spread across the East Coast.
This case could stem anywhere from Florida up the East Coast. There are local individuals that we will be reaching out to.
Washington County Sheriff's Office Chief Deputy Mark Warden said in a press conference. Police have begun calling through known clients of Lasissis to alert them of the situation, and also are urging anybody else who may have had contact with her to reach out to authorities.
They're not in trouble. This is a public health awareness. This is It's not a scam,
said Warren. Anybody who may have been with Lassesi is asked to be brutally honest with officials. Marietta Belfry Health Department is a judgment-free zone with full confidentiality. Relatives of Lassesi, clients, and anybody who had sexual contact with them are also vulnerable to the risky business. Lassesi was arrested for soliciting sex on Market Street, after which police learned she was HIV positive and had known for more than 2 years. The next day, she was indicted for engaging in solicitation after a positive HIV test, a third-degree felony. Interestingly enough, if she had plied her trade in progressive California, she probably wouldn't be charged at all. Yeah, it's a nasty thing she did, but she had to make a living, and besides, you take one good look at her, and, well, you get what you paid for.
This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin.
There's a new drug on the street. What do we got?
Junkies dropping like flies.
So, I was, a 9-to-5er, pushing poo, when I thought, hey, there's gotta be another way.
I can't stop, man. This crack's so whack. Don't be a pussy. Crack is crack. No, man. Once you've had plumber's crack, you never go back. Plumber's crack. He was a mild-mannered plumber, but behind the scenes, he was a drug lord puppet master of the mean streets of Philadelphia.
So, I had all this coke, and I thought, hey, let's see what some Drano will do.
My God, the whole city has become a turd stuck between the cheeks of plumber's crack.
I'll suck your dick. I'll eat your ass. I'll swallow your hairy sack for some plumber's crack.
Plumber's crack. Rated R.
This is a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Florida woman who was caught having sex on public pier jumps into the water to escape the police. Hello, I'm Mr. Nailsin. Well, the escape didn't do 20-year-old Alyssa Razzo much good. She was picked up by the beach patrol as soon as she made it to shore. The Naples Police Department received multiple reports about a man and woman having sex behind the historic pier's locked gate at about 4:30 p.m. during the busy Memorial Day holiday. Razzo and Zadok Westfield, 23, were still at it when officers arrived. As the two scrambled to put on their clothes, Razzo moved to the edge of the pier and jumped in, despite officers' commands that she stay where she was. Westfield, who was completely naked when police arrived, stayed at the scene. He told the officer that he and Razzo had swum to the end of the pier and intended to jump off, but wound up having sex instead. A witness told police she was enjoying the beach near the pier with her 4 children, ages 7 to 15, when they noticed Razzo and Westfield naked in the public spot. She told police her minor children were asking questions about what the subjects were doing. Razzo and Westfield were each charged with trespassing and disturbing the peace. Razzo was additionally charged with resisting arrest without violence. Both were taken into custody and bonded out the same day. The iconic pier, which juts about 1,000 feet into the Gulf of Mexico, has only been partially open to visitors since it was severely damaged by Hurricane Ian in 2023. And now, well, it's kind of stained.
This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin. The Mr. Nailsin Show is brought to you by me, Night Knight. Head over to IndiePlanet.com to get your copy of the Night Knight comic book so that you can actually see me in action in my one-man war of crime. Shut up, Boo-o, God damn it! I do the announcements. Oh, God, no one gives a crap about Boo-o.
I'm part of the team, man. Tell him about false advertising. Yeah,
Stupid idiot.
I help Night Knight fight crime, and we blow stuff up and do a lot of damage. and of course, people get mad at us when we do. But
it's a war on crime, and in every war there's collateral damage.
I mean, well, I guess it isn't one-man war because
Exactly.
it's a two-man war on crime.
All right, anyway, we're running out of time. Don't miss this opportunity to get your hands on the adventures of Night Knight.
And Boobo.
The Night Knight comic book available at IndiePlanet.com.
In an undisclosed location somewhere in the vicinity of Washington, D.C., the capital, one federal agent, Joe Journal, finds himself at the door of a secret office, an office belonging to top secret chief Dick Rage. Come on in, Agent Journal.
Oh, well, thank you, sir.
Journal, you're here for one reason and one reason only. You're the only man out of a selection of 12 agents to pass the test over the past few months. Tests that involved you to be subjected to several hours of pornography. And also performances by big-breasted strippers with glowing pasties. And despite these women's multiple attempts to seduce you, you held firm, unlike all the other agents. That makes you the perfect candidate for this secret mission.
Well, thank you, sir.
And I must confess, in all my years as an agent, I've never been put through a training course quite like that, so I have quite the curiosity as to what this mission could possibly be. Agent Journal, have you ever heard of an organization known as the Cosmic Coven?
Well, no, I can't say that I have.
Well, that's probably because they're a secret society. Emphasis on secret. Yes, a secret society of extremist, misandrist women bent on world domination. And the kicker is they possess superpowers.
Superpowers?
Yeah, that's right. They're really strong, and there's all kind of weird shit they can do. But their most serious and dangerous power is their ability to hypnotize men and control their minds. They hate men, but they're not above using them to meet their ends. And they do this through a weird light show put on by their breasts.
Their breasts?
That's right, Journal. They whip off their tops, and their areolas begin to glow. And so far, no man can resist their hypnotic power. Some of our agents have been compelled to commit suicide on the orders of the Cosmic Coven.
Good Lord.
That's why you've been selected, Journal. You're the only man who seems to have the ability to resist their hypnotic feminine wiles.
Oh, well, I guess I'm just lucky. But what a dangerous organization. It seems odd there isn't more emphasis on taking them down.
Yeah, well, you know how it is. Budgetary concerns, allocation of funds. things, wars to win or start, rather, stuff like that. It all kind of piles up, but we knew eventually we'd get back to them at some point. And finally that day has come because they've just crossed the line.
Crossed the line? What did they do that's more heinous than mind-controlling agents into committing suicide?
They've kidnapped popular supermodel Zara Zillion. I'm sure you're familiar with her work.
Well, no.
No? Well, anyway, she's really popular and all that, and plus she's the daughter of a multi-billionaire, and he wants his little ZZ back.
ZZ?
Yeah, Zara Zillion, get it?
Oh, all right, yeah. So, with her being an heiress to a multi-billionaire fortune, I imagine this cosmic coven have made quite a hefty ransom demand.
We don't believe money is the motive here.
Well, then what?
Well, look, they're lesbians, and Zara's really hot, so we suspect they abducted her to turn her into one of their love slaves.
Good Lord! Women being turned into sex slaves of other women? Why, that's disgusting.
Yeah, so we think you're the man for the job to rescue Miss Zillion, and so that's why we're going to put you in a rocket and shoot you to the moon.
Wait, what? Shoot me to the moon?
Yeah, turns out our intelligence revealed that they've got a secret base on the moon, and that's where they're keeping Miss Zillion.
Secret base on the moon? My God, that's incredible.
Nah, not really. Lots of people have had bases over there. In fact, the Soviet Union had an asteroid base floating around for quite a while.
What? Good Lord.
Yeah, it was pretty serious threat for a while, but, well, I don't know, the air conditioning went out and they all cooked. It's still out there, but, what are you going to do with it?
This is just amazing, Mr. Rage. Who'd have thought that spending months watching porn and strippers would lead to such revelations?
Yeah, well, life is funny sometimes. So, Agent Journal, your mission is obvious. Top priority, the rescue of Zara Zillion. Secondary priority, if possible, you are to destroy the Cosmic Coven's moon base. Meanwhile, up above on the moon, in a dark secret chamber within the secret base of the secret society known as the Cosmic Coven, we find one Zara Zillion strapped down to a table.
Listen, my daddy's really rich. I mean, super duper pooper scooper rich. And, we can work something out.
I'm afraid money has no meaning for us, Miss Zillion. I mean, look around. We have our own moon base, so a multi-billionaire won't mean much to us. No.
Well, then, what's this all about?
It is about your glorious glutes. Yours is the most perfect ass I've
ever seen, making you the only possible candidate for the Moon Mage. The Moon Mage? What? I don't understand any of that.
The Moon Mage is an ancient prophecy of the Cosmic Coven, an entity who will become a super sorceress, towering over all other sorceresses. You, Zara, we believe, are to be transformed into the Moon Mage. But first, we all must perform an initiation by conducting a scissor orgy.
Scissor orgy? Well, wait a minute. I mean, okay, yeah, all right. I fooled around with the other girls, runway shows and all that. But in the end, if it ain't got that swing, it don't mean a thing.
Oh, she said swing!
Heresy!
Fear not, sisters, for Zara is not yet initiated, but we will soon persuade her otherwise. All right, girls, light up the headlights.
Oh my God, you're all getting naked. Wait, what's wrong with your tits? They're like glowing.
That's right, Zara. Look deep into our areolas, and learn to love women. Love women. Women.
What?
Women.
Oh, no.
Women.
No, I must resist.
Women. So pretty. Women. So soothing.
Oh no! Will Zara Zillion be able to resist the feminine wiles and lures of glowing areolas? Will Agent Joe Journal arrive in time to save her? Find out in the next exciting episode of Moon Mage. You have been listening to Moon Mage. All stories written, directed, and performed by me, Douglas Nelson. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod and other public domain sources.
This is a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Special needs teacher caught sexually abusing student on camera, but the school didn't monitor the video. Hello, I'm Mr. Nailsin. Classroom cameras at a costly taxpayer-funded boarding school for autistic, mentally ill, and emotionally disturbed students captured a biology teacher sexually abusing a boy. But no one monitored the video. Only after the student told his mom that he had sex repeatedly with Sandy Carazaz Pinez, a teacher at Biondi High School, did the principal watch the video. It showed the instructor cuddling with the 16-year-old during class and asking him to rub her crotch. What I just saw was disturbing, Principal Maria Baker said, according to the boy's mother. She was crying. She was so sorry. They should have been looking at the cameras. No kidding. In July 2023, Kara Zazpinez, 34, a married mother of 3 who formerly taught in 2 city public schools, was charged criminally in Manhattan federal court with luring the teen into a sexual relationship and convincing him to appear with her on an X-rated live stream video call. For 3 years, from 2020 to 2023, the New York City Department of Education paid Biondi for the boy's tuition, room, and board, psychological treatment, and 24-hour supervision. The cost likely exceeded $100,000 a year, say education advocates who place DOE students with special needs in private schools funded by the city and state. Among her many texts to the teen, the lawsuit states, Kara Zazpinez wrote, "I loved that you were holding and hugging me in school. And I call you crazy when you try to finger me in class." The school let the youth leave campus for hours at a time on a day pass without his mother's permission. On dozens of outings, Kara Zazpinez met the boy at a nearby Dunkin' Donuts, and they had sex in her car. Kara Zazpinez sent the boy nude photographs of herself and lewd text messages, including one saying she was sore after he gave her a workout. When the youth tried to stop the sexual activity, Kara Zazpinez threatened to fail him in class or kill herself, which traumatized the teen, a schizophrenic who had attempted suicide. Had the school followed even their most basic safety protocols, they could have prevented the horrific, repeated, and ongoing abuse that had occurred under their own roof, said lawyer Leslie Bovner of the law firm Peters Bovner, which filed a lawsuit
against the institution. Several months after Karazaz Pinez was arrested in 2023, the Beyondie School permanently closed because it was not financially viable, said Jennifer Scott, a spokeswoman for Rising Ground Incorporated, the Brooklyn nonprofit that ran Beyondie. Connecticut-based iPark purchased the 28-acre campus for $52.6 million and plans to use the site for film studios, and a performing arts school. The Beyondie scandal is a black eye for Rising Ground, which has collected $374 million in New York City funds for various services since 2018. The institution, which fired Karazaz Pinez after discovering her misconduct, declined to comment on the lawsuit. The disgraced teacher was jailed after a judge found she violated her bail conditions while staying with her parents in Staten Island. The suit seeks unspecified compensatory and punitive damages. Well, since they did sell the property for over $50 million, there ought to be enough in there to, pay off the suit. But boy, I wonder how much the camera system cost, It's only good if you actually monitor it, I mean, if the kid hadn't said anything, they never would have known, because they don't care. Your tax dollars at work.
This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin. The views and opinions expressed during the Mr. Nailsin Show do not necessarily reflect those held by RadioMisfits.com. So, any complaints and or comments should be sent to @Mr. Nailsin on Twitter, where they will be promptly ignored and or blocked.